What exactly does each one of these do to your Mathews bow? I'm going to lay it down for you. Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with PodiumArcher.com, talking about the Mathews top hat system and how much each one actually affects it. So first of all, if you can come down here and look at these are set up in pairs. So you have lines, low, high, and medium. So these all go together as a set. So that's 3 different sets of top hats. I don't know which ones are in here, but this allows you, depending on where you position them, to go 3 directions to the left and 3 directions to the right. So it allows you 6 different positions to set this in. Now I figured if it doesn't take too long and we do a lot of cutting, we can put each one of these in here and show you how much it moves for each one on this Phase 4 33. Now if you have a 33-inch axle to axle Mathews that takes these or somewhere really close to that, you should see similar results. The 21 might be a little bit more because it's shorter axle to axle and the cable guard will affect it a little more, but it should be a reasonable guideline. So let's try it. Set the little fingers in the indents. Now if you're ever doing this, it's like really important that these touch equally. So if you have like one tighter than the other, that kind of thing, you're going to end up having a hard time getting the axle in and out. So when you pull this part out, it'll shift, and then trying to put it back in is really difficult. So once you're sure you've got them equal and even and pushing with about the same amount of pressure, and you can kind of try to tighten these up until they're as snug as possible, and that should tell you that you're even. Go ahead and press it. You just need a little, enough where the string cables move. That's all you need. You might need 2 Allen wrenches to do this, depending on how loose these screws are, or just one. Just pull this little sucker out. Have your handy dandy little magnet tray. Set it in there so it doesn't fly away, and then you'll know really quick. If it comes out easy, you've got the wheel set about right. So we're going to pull the top hats out of here and see what we have to start with. They just slide right on out of that hole. You just push on it with a little Allen wrench. Go ahead and set that back down there and hope it doesn't fall. All right, let's see which ones we got here. Whoa, crap. There we go. All right. So these are the far position ones, which is the ones in the middle here. So if we look at these in comparison to each other, that looks like the most extreme, second most, and third most. So we're going to start with this, and we're going to start with the skinny one all the way on the right. This is for a right-handed bow, left-handed shooter. Just do the exact opposite of that. Put it back together. Line it up, give it a push. And as long as you're relatively close, you should be able to shimmy a little bit. Sometimes I use this. You're being a little stubborn. Oh, there we go. That's like that. There you go. It's right there. Come on. There it goes. Just a little snug. Sometimes the first time in is a little tight. Screw that one back on and then go do the other side. All right, we'll see how the fingers are on this side. Oh, a little tighter, so there's probably a little more uneven, so it might not want to go back in as easily. Now, normally from the factory, these will actually have the same shims in the top and the bottom, but sometimes they don't. So we'll see what we got here. So a top hat master kit, we do sell them on the website, and they come with all of those. So every one of those is going to be in there. Let's see what we got here. Same ones. So same ones. So we're going to take that same set we used there and start here. So this is moving the cam as far to the right as possible or the least amount of wheeling as possible. So if you have a point left or knock right tear, this is the direction you'd move the cam to try to improve it. Okay, we've got them both changed out to the far right extreme. And whenever you pull them apart, always give the bow a good tug. Make sure all the strings are reseated where they go, and then let the weight off. All right, now when you test your wheel lean, you're gonna wanna test it with no pressure on the fingers. So you want your bow to be able to move like that. If you can't do that, it's gonna push on one side or the other, and you're not gonna get an accurate reading for what your wheel lean looks like. So, that's not a flat spot, is it? No. So in a perfect world, in fact, I'm gonna do it, you'd pull it back in a draw board and look at it. So since I happen to have one, okay, we've got it back in our draw board. We're gonna see what our laser looks like. So now, well, you can see that for us. We're way off to the left, so this would be like too extreme of movement to try to get that laser straight. We'll check the other one. But we're gonna give you an idea, in fact, so see if you can get that on the limb right there. See that red dot on the limb? Just on the other side of the rubber? Mm-hmm. Okay, so right now, the laser alignment is all the way off the limb, like right onto here. So if we have a measurement of that and we know where it is, we'll set the next one and see how much that movement is. So if you can measure from your cam to where that dot is, it should tell you which spacer kit to put in there. So you don't have to put like 6 of them in there to figure it out. We're trying to cut you a little time. So we'll start with that. Let this back down. All right, round 2. We know where the first ones are. Time for the second ones. Now, some people might ask, why in the world did you put that back in the draw board to check that? Well, I have found in most bows over my time that if you actually put it in the draw board and check it at full draw and those two are perfectly pointed at each other, that bow tunes, like perfectly right where it is. So I did that on purpose so you could see that's how I personally try to set it when I'm setting up a bow. Get that thing back to full draw, and you can do it with a Spot Hog draw board. You don't have to have this contraption that isn't like for sale or anything. You can just pull it back, but get that checked at full draw. And if you've got a buddy you really trust, you hold the bow back, they can actually set it on there and look at it, but yeah, then you're sticking fingers in something that a human's holding back instead of a jig. But either way, I always like to check my wheel lean at full draw, not at rest. I always like to try to keep some tension on this when I do this because it keeps the strings seated, and then as long as the strings don't come out of their grooves, it's really easy to put it back together. When they come out of their grooves, which that's where you're going to make a mistake, I guarantee you when you do this, is if you don't catch that this little cable got back in here and it's down there somewhere, you go to draw it and you're going to cut it and damage it, you're going to need to replace it. So easy peasy. See how much easier that was when the fingers were set right? The previous time I had to like pry on it and wedge it to get it in there. If you get the fingers exactly right, it's really easy to pull them out and put them back on. If it's hard to get out, you got your fingers messed up. Set that back down there because we're going to need them again. All right. Task 2 of 6, almost completed. Just where they lightly touch. It's important that you get them all the way back because these wheels lean differently throughout that cycle, which is why you'll wheel lean a bow, change the draw length, and all of a sudden the wheel lean isn't right anymore. It's because the cam's actually moving throughout the cycle. So you got to wheel lean it in the length you want it at. All right, so here we go. Round 2. This one now is probably half as much down on the limb. Let's just pull that string stop off so we can get a good visual on here. You don't have to do this to use it, but I want you guys to get a good clear picture of what's going on here. Where'd that Allen wrench right here. So if you take this out, just make sure you put it back in, there's nothing obstructing the laser from touching. Just take it out, set it back down when you're done, and I'll go ahead and move this stabilizer out so it's not in the way, or just take it off. There we go. All right, now we can get a good shot of this. Just hold it flat against your cam. Now we're off the limb and automatically into the roller. So we're getting closer. We're not where this bow needs it at, but check the other side. Should have a similar result. You get about the same here. All right, now we're still out on the limb there. So this side, it's moved from like the screw on the left to the screw on the right. So we should grab a tape or something and try to measure this. Try this one more time. So what we are going to find here, though, is that these are not exactly the same. So in a perfect world, if you're going to build this bow perfectly, you're going to have 2 different sets of top hats from the top to the bottom because this one's leaning less, hang on. This one's actually leaning more than that one is. Yes, this one's leaning more than that one is. So you're going to end up with a little less position here. So, but we're gonna go all the way through just to make sure we check each measurement. But yeah, that's, let me find a tape. Let me give you a numeric measurement here. Show a taper. All right, so we got our calipers here, and I want to measure the actual distance so I can give you a numeric. So it kind of looked like we went from this screw hole to that screw hole on one position here. So I'd say that's, let me get some light, almost a ½ inch, real close to 0.5, yeah, almost a ½ inch of movement, if I'm doing that right. Yeah, so from there to there, I moved it about a ½ inch on one set. And down here, it was from like the rubber to the edge, and I imagine that's about the same. Yeah, so the first set of spacers on a 33-inch bow moved the laser position that's on the limb about a ½ inch. So let's see what the next one does. Now I'm betting this one, now mind you, the laser that you're seeing down here is this one's adjustment. So when we move this one more here, it's probably going to be dead center, and this one's probably going to need more like 2, but we'll find out. It's not going to be perfect, but you can figure out about how close is humanly possible. So now we're going to grab the third set. All right, so these ones. Is that right? What's the 2? Yep. So this one's going to be on this side, on this side, and then when we go to the fourth, we're literally just going to take these ones and flip-flop them. So then you got 4, 5, 6. Back at it. 3 of 6. Next, we have, this should be really close to where you want it. And if you look at that, I don't know if you can see it come down my way, it's dead center. So on this wheel, this is where you'd want to stop, in my opinion. This upper wheel is set perfect, and I'm actually going to make a little note because this is one of my 4 bows that I'm going to test and decide which one I want, and I'm going to put this bow back to here on this one. So that actually was, thank you Mathews Factory, the spacer that was in there. So this wheel lean on this one was actually set correctly. We'll see if that one was, although I didn't pay attention to which way it was facing, but it was this set that I pulled out. So cool, let's see how much that one is, and we can measure again. I bet you're gonna find, because we started about that, whoa, position here. Let's see if I can get a good indicator measurement, eyeballing it of where we were. Really close to 1 inch. So it looks like each one's going to be ½ inch, ½ inch, ½ inch. But we'll check it all the way just in case we don't run into something weird when we get to the other end and it gets extreme. But hopefully you can look back on this video, check your stuff once, and grab the right spacers to put in it to save you some time. It's taking us a lot of time, but hopefully it won't take you a lot of time. Should find the exact same, like this is going to be into the groove. Yeah. So we're almost off limb. So this one isn't moving nearly as much, which is kind of odd, but that's why you check and you don't just know for sure. But we're trying to give you a good guideline. So that probably only moved 1/4 of an inch, give or take, from where it was last time. So I almost guarantee you, for this one to be right, it cannot have the same set of spacers in it. Even if they're flip-flopped, it won't move enough. So I would have retuned this bow anyway. Now I'm just doing it the long way. So this is actually the easiest one because we're going from the same spacer, just going the opposite direction. Be really careful when you screw these screws back into the axle because it's really easy to cross thread it. I've done it. If I can do it, I promise you can do it too. And your shop may or may not have a set of these sitting around. So if you dick one of them up, you might be waiting a little while to fix your bow. So keep that in mind. But all you do here, I just like to get them moving a little bit so they're not in there. I'm just using the edge of my Allen wrench, by the way, to slide that out. Set my Allen wrench down, Pull this one out, pull that one out, flip it around, flip it around. You see that? Bring this over. Screw it back in. We'll do the other side and then we'll check. Now we are in position 4 of 6. And we are officially, whoop, 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 whoop. Now we're all the way off the edge of the module from the center of the groove. So in here, that's going to be center groove to the laser. So that is, that's like 3/8 of an inch of movement. So up until now, it's been a half pretty much every time. That's only about 3/8 for that one. Let's see if we got enough out of this one. And I think there's some variance limb to limb when you're testing this, because you'll see stuff that doesn't make a whole lot of sense on one side over the other. Okay, so we're almost there. That's super close. And to be honest with you, with this system, that's probably as close as you're going to get. We're going to keep going just to see if it makes a difference, but that's probably as close as you would get, and that's probably where I'm going to end up leaving it for this bow, because you can't get exact. You're going to get close. So your laser's right. Oh, sorry, bud. So that looked like it moved it probably 1/4 to 3/8. And being as that these are positioned the way that they are, if we take a tape and measure from there to there and there to there, it's about equal. So the fact that it's not moving at the same rate probably means I've got a stronger limb than a weaker limb on one side, so it's harder for this one to push itself over. If you run into that instance, that's probably the case, because we'll take this measuring tape. Go distance from here to the cable is 15. And from this side to the cable is 15. So this is in the exact middle. So what this one does, that one should do exactly the same. There's no reason for it not to. So if it isn't doing it the same, one of these is heavier than the other. No way around it. It's just mismarked. But it doesn't mean it's defective. It's just there's a little bit more load on one side than the other, and you have to pay attention to that, which is why you'd end up with different top hats, because this is going to end up pushing it farther over, and I'm going to need the other set most likely. So we'll see. One more. Position 5 of 6. Now we are all the way over to the top hat, basically. And we were on the edge of the module. So that's about another 3/8, probably. Not quite a half. Yeah, somewhere in there. And this one's probably perfect now. Just on the inside edge here. And if I had to pick the inside edge or the outside edge, personally, I would probably do it here. So in a perfect world, you'd be in between those two, if you could. Right? But that's about as close as that's going to get. So that's probably where I would leave this one. So that one and that one were 2 positions different to get them straight. Not just 1, 2. Even though it's the same bow, same limb, same everything. This is why you have to check these things and why they get overlooked a lot at certain shops. It's really important. One more to go. Last one. Here we go. Now we're way out on the limb. So that's another 3/8-ish to a half. So somewhere between 3/8 and a half per position. So if you can just get, and now we're almost to the top hat. So once again, this whole way, this one was positioned more than that one. So in closing, I guess, from this video, they're not going to be the same. So if they don't look the same, don't freak out. That's totally normal. You want to pull it back to full draw to check these things. And don't be shocked if this one's going to be way different than that one to get them perfectly straight. But if you get those two pointed perfectly at each other, your bow's going to tune really easy. It's going to accept more arrows. You're going to have less problems with broadhead field point impact, all that stuff. This is super important on all bows, okay? This is just the Mathews one. We're going to keep making more. So tune back in for how to do a Hoyt, how to do other brands. And I may even try the 29 to see if the difference is more or less drastically than what we found here. But if you figure, if you can pull it back to full draw, shine your laser on something, measure how far you need to get to the cam, right? It should be, you should be able to take what we've done here and figure out which one you need. And hopefully you guess right and don't have to redo it 2 or 3 times. People, I have 10 bows to give away. Remember, you must come here and I'm not paying for that. Okay, so there is going to be some cost in that. But I have 10 of these things to give away. It's been out for over a week. There's only 200 people signed up. 200! That's like ridiculously good odds. That's a 1 in 20 chance that you signed up for this stupid little internet giveaway and you're going to get a free bow fully put together, learn how to put it together yourself with my help, and have an experience of a day that honestly most people will get super excited about. I can't believe there's only 200 people signed up so far because I'm going to start giving it away like in less than a week, and the first person that I contact gets to pick from the 10 bows, and then so on and so on and so on. So it kind of rewards the people that signed up first out of whoever I pick out of there. So please go to that video, find the link, subscribe, give me your information. You have to be on Instagram and YouTube. And I know I get the venom of, oh, I don't want an Instagram. Well, guess what? This whole format is to grow those channels. So you have to have one to be able to participate. Make up a fake one or get one just for me and turn off your notifications and never look at it. I don't care if you have 1 follower. You need to be on Instagram and YouTube and put your usernames in there so I can verify that you're being honest with me. Because I want to be able to give it away. I want to have a lot to pick from. And there's nothing wrong with the people I've got. It's just, man, that's like, you're probably $2,500 setup a piece for free just to come here and learn how to put it together for free. So, hey, sign up, hurry up, I'm giving them away. See ya.